Hello, friends, and welcome to a red-hot edition of the Kings of Anglia Ipswich Town podcast, sponsored by manscaped.com. I say red-hot, obviously you're used to the red-hot takes that we bring you, the red-hot news that we bring you, but today it's literally just red-hot. I hope you're enjoying the sun. Heath Towers is sweltering. I've had to put a t-shirt on just to do this show. I don't think people are ready to see my topless body on the video. So for reasons of decency, I'll put a t-shirt on, and I'm pleased to say my other two colleagues today are also wearing clothes. I'm going to come to Stu first of all, Stu, because you have got a new toy. After weeks, it feels like, of complaints about the audio, you have finally done what you promised to do about 3 years ago and bought yourself a mic, which matches up with all of us. So get ready, people, because Stu is now in full surround sound audio. How are you, Stuart Watson?
Mic check, mic check.
Whoa!
1, 2. How's that sound?
That's loud, man. That's amazing. We've got so used to not really being able to hear you that now I'm sure people driving along listening to this probably just crashed into a big tree when you spoke, because Stuart Watson is here. He's in surround sound, Dolby, audio vision. Fantastic to have you with us, Stu. And of course, the man sporting the best beard of all of us, the youthful member of the team, the fourth wheel on the bus that is KOA, Roscoe, Rossi Halls. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm 25 now, so I'm getting closer to 30. So,
yeah. Are you going to apply the same rules to yourself when you get to 30 and just have a word with yourself and tell yourself to stop playing football?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have a midlife crisis or not. I'm sure I'll get to that stage at some point. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that.
You just had a week off, Rossi, for your birthday. You went away to the All Saints Hotel in Farnham, which is meant to be very nice indeed. Did you have a good time?
Oh, it's beautiful. A lot of food. I did a lot of swimming, so I got my swims in. Went in the steam room and sauna. Did a record for myself. Of course, you got to make sure you're not in there too long because
What's the record? This is how long you can stay in a sauna. Is that the record?
Yeah, I think the recommended time is 10 minutes or 8-10 minutes. So normally I don't last that long because I'm very, I can't handle it. But I was in there for a good 6 minutes. So
that's a PB.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't do it proper, like Nordic style. You did have clothes on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, there was a few ladies in there, older ladies, of course. I don't know if they've been that impressed. A 25-year-old walking around butt naked.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm always butt naked in the hotel room, so that's fine.
Just naked the whole time in the hotel room. Lovely. I'm not sure that the lovely people of West Suffolk are ready for a naked Roscoe in the sauna though. So probably wise. Boys, we've got a time limit today because Ross needs to go out. He's very important. He's got to jump out in an hour or so. So let's jump straight into the news. And to be honest, there's not really a lot to discuss news-wise since we last spoke. The obvious thing that's really happened since we last spoke, Stu, is it looks like Town are going to miss out on one of their top targets for the summer. The beast, as I've been calling him, Matt Crooks, the attacking midfielder from Rotherham. It's like he's going to sign for a championship outfit, Stu. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, sounds like he's going to Middlesbrough. That was always the danger, wasn't it? That if championship clubs came knocking, it would be A, more appealing to Rotherham, who clearly didn't want to sell to a League One rival, and B, would be more appealing to Matt Crooks himself, who has proven himself as a championship player, certainly last season. So that has happened. The hope for Ipswich was that they would be in a position to kind of swoop before championship clubs got their houses in order and were able to make a move. But Middlesbrough have come in. I think obviously geographically staying up north would appeal to Matt Crooks as well. So not a lot Ipswich can do about that one. I don't think even if they'd have pushed the price up higher in the last week or so, that would have made that much of a difference. I think Rotherham and Crooks probably would have held fire for a bit longer anyway. So Neil Warnock spoke after their pre-season game last night, loosely about Matt Crooks being a target. But from the calls that I've made this morning, it sounds like that's all go, and Ipswich will move on to other targets in midfield.
Okay. Clearly, Town have had a very busy window so far. They have, as we said at the start of the window, as you said, Stu, they've had ambitious targets, and with ambitious targets, it's inevitable, I suppose, you're going to miss out on a couple of those targets. So Sonny Bradley now and Matt Crooks go in the missed out on bin. How much of a blow, though, is it, Stu, for Town to miss out on Crooks? As we say, he was certainly one of their their top targets. And we talked about what a valuable addition he would have been to the side.
Yeah, I think anyone would be lying if they said they're not disappointed in this one. We've seen firsthand what damage Matt Crooks can do at League One level. It would have been a big marquee signing. We know that. The fact that Scott Fraser is signed, I think, makes it an easier pill to swallow. That Ipswich have got a proven top-class League One attacking midfielder in the door already. But that midfield area is still looking light to me. You've got Harper, Evans, Fraser as 3 new signings. Beyond that, you've got John Nolan, who is injured again and has obviously got question marks hanging over him on a fitness front, unfortunately. And then you're down to Dobras and El Mazzounis, who may or may not be needed out wide at this moment in time. So I still think they're light in that central area. Mark Ashton did talk in that interview that he did with us recently about being active on sort of 3 or 4 players per position. So making sure that you've got plates spinning, and if one plate drops, you've got another plate to turn to. And that is what Ipswich will do. It's not like suddenly they go, oh, Matt Crooks has gone back to the drawing board. There will be other irons in the fire that they can move quite quickly onto.
Rossi, Matt Crooks won't be a Town player, it looks like, and this is a very surprising U-turn now. How much does that bother you?
Last week, is probably not a good week to have off because there are a lot of things was happening. 2 signings, the away kit got released. I think Scott Fraser, what sign that is. I'm probably not as sad now to see Matt Crooks not signed because it's just signed Scott Fraser, who's scored 14 goals. Now, a lot of those were penalties, but he's proven at this level. Matt Crooks, he's just proven that he can play in the Championship. So I think that would have been a massive coup. What's the word? It's a coup? It's a coup. Coup, innit? Coup. That's the word. One of those. But yeah, I think for him, he probably wants to make sure he's proven that he can play in the Championship. And Middlesbrough, Neil Warnock, who will want to play under Neil Warnock?
Exactly. Stewie, you referenced there, obviously, they will have other targets. There'll be lists and dashboards and all sorts. Any kind of insight, or are we kind of at a stage now where they'll be kind of reassessing things and there's no names really to toss out there from our point of view at the moment?
I haven't got any names I can give you at this moment in time. Earlier in the summer, Andy did a story on Richie Smallwood at Hull, who was their captain and helped them get promoted last season. Again, someone proven at League One level, formerly of Blackburn. I don't know if he's sort of still in the mix. He's obviously a different type of player to Crooks, would be one of those sort of deeper midfield players. But if you've got Fraser into play as a 10, do you look instead for someone that's going to play in one of those deeper positions just to give you a bit of competition there? I don't know. Then you could look to get in a winger that can also play as a number 10, for example, Bersant Salina. If you were to sign him, you could sign him primarily to play on the left, but also could play as the number 10 if Fraser was injured, for example. So I think they'll be looking. Crooks was obviously a sort of a 2-for-1 type signing in that he could play 10 and 8. There are other variations of that. You could look for someone that could play left and 10, that sort of thing. So we know Crooks wants to have a smaller squad. I think whoever comes in will be someone that can play multiple positions.
Okay, well, time will tell on that. Town look to have missed out on Crooks, but certainly watch this space. Clearly, there's still going to be a lot to happen in this transfer window for Ipswich Town. One of the midfielders that is already in the building, Stu, and we're very pleased to have him at Town, Lee Evans, scored an absolute worldie in the game that Town played at the weekend. It's a game at Fulham, behind closed doors. We couldn't go, and we really don't know a lot about it because there's not been a lot of detail released about it. But one thing we do know is Lee Evans scored an absolute corker, didn't he, Roscoe?
I'll have to admit, I've watched it a few times. Skip. Is Lee Evans the new skipper? He's been wearing the captain's armband.
He's definitely got to be at the moment, hasn't he? Unless they bring in a big hairy ass centre half. But what a goal!
Our new free kick taker. Last time we saw people doing deliveries, Grill Edwards went in the Rose Ed. But no, what an absolute crack! I know it's a trainer match, and I don't know who was in goal for Fulham, but what a hit that was. And if fans are in the ground there, that would be amazing. Hopefully, we'll see a few more of those this season.
Yeah, he was on corners, wasn't he, when we saw him, Roscoe, at Dartford? So maybe he's going to be in charge of the set pieces. Stu, is there any? We don't really know a lot else about the game, do we? We know Town lost. No shame there in losing to Fulham. But other than the very few pictures that are out there, Luke Wolfen didn't look like he played. There's not. It's a game shrouded in mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, from what we gather, it's the same starting 11 that started against Dartford. So that was sort of Bon and Norwood up front, with Burns and Dobber on the wings, Harper and Evans in midfield, back four of Danasi and Wolfenden, Enciala, Penny and Hladky in goal. So and then a younger team in the second half. So we're still not sure whether Pigott and Fraser were involved, having only just arrived last week. Like you say, no great shame there. I mean, Mitrovic was among the goal scorers for Fulham, so it sounds like they've put out some decent players themselves. So Fulham's protocol with these behind closed doors games is to just say it happened and not a lot else other than that. So Ipswich are then obviously due to play again today at Needham Market. The venue got changed to play at home against Stevenage. Or effectively at home against Stevenage, but unfortunately that got called off because of a touch of the old COVID in the Stevenage camp, which was a shame because we were looking forward to that, and I know a lot of fans were as well, getting out in the sunshine today and seeing another warm-up game, but that one's off, so Ipswich won't be in action again till the weekend, back at Portman Road.
It would have been lovely, wouldn't it, boys, today? The weather is beautiful. A 1 p.m. kickoff, so no deadline pressure for us. And no doubt a decent crowd with kids being off school. It would have been a great day there out at Needham, but not to be. So we move on to, as you say, to the kind of the marquee friendlies, I guess now. Crystal Palace, Premier League Crystal Palace at Portman Road this weekend with fans for the first time since the win over Burton in December. Then they play the Luke Chambers Coles-Hughes testimonial match down the road at Colchester, which is now just one game next Tuesday. And then finish, obviously, with the return probably of Big Bart to Suffolk with Millwall a week on Saturday, and that's the final friendly. Clearly, we have to talk about the return of fans, boys. What did you make of the kind of the lengthy list of rules and regulations that Town have put in place? Obviously, they have to. Fans won't be able to get into the games this weekend unless they can prove they're double jabbed, fully vaccinated, or that they've taken and returned a negative COVID test within 48 hours of the game. That's got to be the right thing to do, though, hasn't it, Roscoe?
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be very 50-50 on it. Some people are not going to be happy. Some people will understand. I think a lot of people who understand who have actually suffered COVID themselves, or if they lost somebody, you've got to take those precautions. I know it's a frustrating thing. It's a lot of thing you got to do, but in a lot of different industries, that's what you got to do. Of course, a lot of fans were expected it weren't going to have all these requirements. They were looking forward to just turn up, make sure you don't have COVID, turn up, and then you enjoy the game. But it's like the U-turn with the clubbing. We won't get into that, but of course that has a massive U-turn, and I know a lot of people are not happy about it. But it's going to be good though. I can't wait for fans in the ground again.
It's going to be great, isn't it? It's clearly still not going to be normal. I mean, I don't really know if we remember what normal is now, but and you have to point out that Town, I'm sure, don't want the extra hassle of having to check people's vaccination cards and negative tests and that sort of stuff. But it has to be done if we're going to get football back and start to get back on the road to normal, I think. The other thing that's come out is that all the bars now at Portman Road are going to be cashless, so contact payments. You like that, Roscoe? You're a big fan. I was going to ask you what you made of that.
I know a lot of fans, they get frustrated, like it's the 21st century. I know some people do like carry cash and stuff like that, but just quickly, and it's quicker, isn't it? You don't need to worry about, change or anything. You just go, boom, there you go, beer done, pie done, instead of like getting your money out. Oh, I've only got a tenner. I know pies and beer sometimes are expensive anyway, but you've got to worry about the cash, and there's always queues, but now you just go, boop, 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 done, happy days. But, I know a lot of people still love to use cash, but I think in these current climates, a lot of people use their contactless, so happy days. I
bet you are a danger with a contactless card, aren't you, Roscoe? Just whacking it everywhere, paying for all sorts of stuff. Yeah, no problem. Bang. Do you boys still carry cash just out of interest? I really don't anymore.
Occasionally, if I've got, if like for birthdays, if I get money for birthday, that's probably the only time I have cash around me. But yeah.
Stewie?
And if Andy was here, he'd be telling you that I'm famed for having cash on me. He's always amazed that I've got cash in my wallet. We'll often have little wagers on our away trips for certain things, and I can immediately settle those wagers with cash, which he's always amazed by. But I would probably respond by saying that's overstated. I think it's just been coincidence the few times that I've needed it, I've had it in there. I don't think many of us are great at carrying cash anymore, are we?
No, you've kind of forgotten about it, haven't you, during the pandemic? It's not something you've needed. We should also mention Hutchie, obviously not with us today. He's on a week off, back with us next week in the build-up to the season, and will be at Crystal Palace friendly this weekend. Stewie, one more thing before we move on to a really healthy helping of Mailbag, the return of Mailbag this week, which will be great to dive into. In terms of Portman Road things that are happening, there's been some moves this morning to make Portman Road look better with a lovely, we calling it a mural, a poster. What's happening?
Yeah, I like it. Gone is that horrible peeling plastic brown sun shieldy material on those windows along the back of the Cobbold stand along Portman Road end, and up has gone some iconic imagery of Ipswich Town players and moments of old, and it just completely transforms the stadium. Such a small thing, but just looks so good, and it's timeless imagery as well. Depicts as you go from left to right along that road. It depicts sort of the history of the club, from the club being formed and joining the Football League in the 30s, all the way through the various iconic moments of Ramsey, the FA Cup, UEFA Cup. I believe there's a reference to the unbeaten home record in Europe, which if they have to change that at some point, then that will be. I think they'll do that quite happily. So. Yeah, it's. I think it looks really good. Makes a massive difference, and good on Mark Ashton and co for spotting it and getting on with it and making those changes.
Yeah, these are little things, aren't they? These are not. It's not like they're rebuilding the stand. It's just making it look like someone cares about it a bit more, Rossi.
Yeah, it's not a hard job just to put some. It's great. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's. I don't know why this hasn't been done before. They could easily put together all this, and it is just great to see the history, and it gives an opportunity for the younger kids as well to learn the history of, when it was formed and all these legendary players. Because, it's getting to a point now where, we're getting older now, and, some of these are, of course, passing away and stuff, but it's just great to look back at the history. It's blue. Just make sure it's, kept up to date in terms of if it does start peeling, hopefully they'll make sure it, still looks good, because sometimes those sort of things, they put them up and then they forget about them and then they start peeling off and you go, oh yeah, that was good when it first came up, but now it's sort of, but yeah, I'm liking it.
I have a feeling that Mr. Ashton is not one to let things like that happen, Stewie. If you're sending staff members pictures of their dirty dishes in the canteen, I suspect he's not going to let that new mural just start to peel and fade. I think he'll be all over that like white on rice. Anyway, boys, mailbag time. We've not done a mailbag for a long time, and I thought it'd be good, because there's not a huge amount to talk about today, to speak to the KOA Army, who we've not spoken to directly to for a long time. So Hutchie's not here. Normally, of course, he'd be the man charged with doing the mailbag tune. So does one of you want to take it on?
Stu, I think it's Stu's time to shine.
Well, it's time to give the new mic a full run out, I suppose.
Exactly.
Mailbag. It's time for Mark, Ross and Stu to go dip into the mailbag.
Yes, there we go. Fantastic to have mailbag back. And for the first question from Chris, East London Tractor Boy, I have to cross over to our good friend Ross Halls. Roscoe, do you want to read that out? It's a question directed at you.
So he's getting me to pronounce a name of a player. I'll have to tell Chris, unfortunately, he's joined Feyenoord, so he will not be joining Town. But the player is called Ali. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Come on. Have a go at it. Give the people what they want.
Okay. Alireza Alareza?
Yeah.
Janika Basha. Nah, that's probably no.
That's not-
Janaka Bushka. Janaka Jabov.
Break it down, Ross. Just take it on syllable by syllable.
Johan Bakisha.
I'm gonna spell it out for the listeners. So the surname is JAHANBAKHSH. Go on, Ross. One more time.
Go on.
Jahan Bash. Bash. Do you say the K?
Mm,
Jahan Bash. I don't
I'd
envy
go for
commentators who have to say that.
Yahan Bakush
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
is
I'll
a
say.
tough one, to be fair.
You did. I think you nailed the first name though, Rossi. Ali Reza.
Alareza.
Ali Reza.
Yeah.
How did you say Ali to his mates and also to you?
Yeah.
There you go. Excellent. Tom Lone, yeah, I'd say that. Stewie wants to know, who do you think are Town's serious contenders for promotion this season?
I think just getting up the league table to have a look at it. I think Charlton finished quite strongly last season. I think they'll be in the mix. Sunderland, I think Pritchard is a very good signing for them. They're under new ownership. I think there's more business to come from them. You'd think that they would be in there as well. Wigan, we've talked about a lot this year. I wonder if they're going to be in the mix. Bolton have come up with a bit of momentum. We say it every year, don't we? But you look at that League One table now, and it is like a mini championship now with Sheffield Wednesday and who else is in there? Rotherham, yeah, who've been sort of bouncing up and down between the divisions. Burton, even we forget about teams like Burton that have been in the championship not that long ago as well. So Doncaster, it's a strong old league, but Portsmouth as well still hanging about in League One. So in answer to your question, I'm not sure it will come from the obvious names when people talk about big League One clubs. Someone like Sheffield Wednesday, I think, might find a bit like Sunderland, Ipswich, Portsmouth, might find it takes them a little bit of time to kind of adapt to League One and get their house in order. And I think there might be some dark horses that always emerge. Lincoln looked quite good last season. MK Dons, if they can get themselves a goal scorer, even with Fraser having left, I think they could be a team that pushes on. Bolton I mentioned, so it's going to be a fascinating league next season.
Yeah, Championship obviously referred to as the hardest league to get out of in the world, but League One is very much coming close on the coattails now, isn't it? It's like a murderer's row, League One becoming, with all the sides in there. Who were the sides that finished like trains last season? Was it Blackpool and Oxford off the top of my head? Finished really strongly. Yeah, there's always someone coming.
Both of them started very slowly, didn't they?
Yeah.
Blackpool, I think, I tipped as a bit of a dark horse last summer, and then they started really poorly, and I thought that was a bad shout. But obviously, they came good, and I guess they will be held up as a bit of an example if Ipswich do start a little bit slowly. And Paul Cook's already talked about, it might take a little bit of time for this completely new look squad to gel. So it's worth keeping Blackpool in mind, the way they kind of finished and went up. Oxford as well, they're in the relegation zone for a few weeks and months at the start of last season, and obviously finish really strongly as well. So as much as we all want Ipswich to get off to a flyer in the sunshine in August, and hopefully they will, it's that sort of November, December, January when the pitches start to get a bit heavy and the games start to come thick and fast. That is when the true test of character comes. And that, unfortunately, the last couple of seasons, that's when the test of character has been failed. So hopefully this time around it's different. It's how you finish, not how you start.
Mailbag wise, we've had so many questions, we're not going to be able to do them all, so I'll just give people shout outs if we can't do the question. Jamie PT asked about COVID, which is a very serious question. Jamie, clearly there's some issues around that, which we'll address no doubt as the season goes on. Friend of the show, Harry Butcher, asked about players gelling, which again I think we've talked about before. And the sweet Welsh prince, friend of the show, Harvey Davis, says it's great to have Mailbag back. It's been a while. I love this question, boys. I want to get into this. Picture this, he says, you're at a bar, Big Mick, Hollywood Hearst, Lambo and Cookie walk in, and it's your round next. What drinks are they going for? I can't see Mick ordering sex on the beach personally, but who knows? So what are you saying, Stu? What do you reckon? Might have an insight into this. What's Big Mick's tipple?
I don't have an insight into this, but I do have a thought, because most people's immediate thought is Big Mick, man of the people, Yorkshireman. He's going to be getting himself just a bitter or something, I think Mick would surprise you. I think I've said before on the podcast, Mick had a bit of a secret penchant for fancy sports cars and the finer things in life, and good meals and fine dining, which you wouldn't necessarily associate with Mick. And I think he kept that all a little bit on the down low, because it doesn't quite fit his public persona. So I think Mick would shock you. I think out of those four people, he is the most likely to get himself a classy cocktail. I think he's going for a James Bond sort of. What was it? The original, martini, or a Vespa was the original 007 cocktail, or White Russian, something like that. Something I could see him going down the classy cocktail route. Whereas Paul Hurst is more of I think he's getting himself a bitter. He's the sort of guy that's going to ask the waitress straight away, "What have you got on tap?" And then she's going to come up with whatever we've got the cheesy ferret on today. It's a local ale, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll give that a try." That's Paul Hurst. Paul Lambert's getting a German lager all day long, because that's what he does. And Paul Cook, I don't think Paul Cook's fussy. I think he's just getting whatever everyone else is having, as long as it's alcoholic. He's getting stuck in because he wants to be at the heart of the festivities.
Yeah. This is important. We should extend this to you boys, because obviously when you boys are out drinking now, I'm sure the KO Army are going to come up and often to buy you drinks. What's your poison, Roscoe?
I'm not fussy either, really. Whatever's on tap, I'm happy with any pint, really. Although I'm a bit classy sometimes as well. Sometimes a little bit of wine, a little bit of G&T, sometimes.
Excellent.
A bit of whiskey if I fancy it. So just it depends where we're at. If we're just in a pub, just give me anything. Just don't give me Stella. Stella's just dreadful.
Yeah. There's only a certain age I think you can drink Stella up to before it starts to have a very bad effect on you. I love the idea that anyone who drinks wine is immediately classy as well. Stewie, you're a straight lager man, aren't you?
If you're paying for it, like Ross says, I'm not going to be picky. I do like a blonde beer. I do like I think I've said this before, like a Hoegaarden, something like that. That's me.
And if you're asking KOA Army, mine's a Peroni. And if I'm feeling excitable that day, I might have a whiskey and Coke. Or if the weather's like this, Aspel cider all the way. This is the weather for Aspels. Alan Cook wants to know what's going to be seen as success and what's going to be seen as failure this season. Is anything less than top 2 failure? And how patient are people going to be, Stewie? There's going to have to be an element of patience, isn't there? Because the turnover is massive with the playing squad. There's going to be so many new faces coming in. But Town, I don't think, are going to start like gangbusters, are they, this season? Is that fair?
I don't know. I hope they can. I think anything less than top 6 is a failure, no doubt about it. And I think not being in that top 6 at various landmark points of the stadium will be carefully assessed by the ownership group and Mark Ashton. The pressure is on from day one. Everyone's talking about Ipswich, the moves that they're making in the transfer market, the level of player that they're chasing. So it's hard to say right now because we don't know what the final squad is going to look like, and if they can land 1 or 2 more marquee type signings in the mould of Selena, then the goalposts move again. But I would say at the moment, anything outside of top 6 would be a failure. I don't think. I'm still reticent to say that Ipswich have to finish in the top 2 because it's a tough league. No matter how good the recruitment is, it's still going to be tough. But has to be top 6. Has to be. No doubt.
Is there any way, Roscoe, in which a season which ends with Town not getting promoted could be a success?
Interesting one, really. With the signings we're making, I don't think fans will be very happy if we didn't get promoted, or at least be in the playoffs. And if we lose in the playoffs, our normal record is we have to lose 3 times and then win it the 4th time. I don't know if we've got that patience that much now, because we're getting promoted to the Championship, not the Premier League. I think if the season has been unbelievable, exciting games, we're in the mix in it, and then unfortunately injuries, we're cursed with injuries if that strikes again, and it is what it is. But I think, some fans will be disappointed, but I don't think we'll lose the fan base, if you know what I mean. I don't think they'll go too crazy. I think they'll just go, League One is a tough league, in my opinion. I know Richie Town, we're massive and all that, but there's some big teams in this division now, and there's some really ambitious sides, like, Bolton with, Stu's already mentioned, they just got promoted back into League One, and they're not mucking about either. And, Wigan, Paul Cook's nemesis now on Liam Richardson. But there's a lot of teams there I feel could be fighting for that top 6. So it's going to be an interesting season in League One.
Yeah, it was a mix, wasn't there? When we spoke to fans before the Dartford friendly, a lot of them did say we have to get promoted. But there were also people, I think Carl and George we spoke to, who basically just said, if we get promoted, great, obviously, but I just want to see a side that plays exciting football and are up for the fight and don't shrink on the big occasions. So we shall see. I suppose a heroic defeat in the playoff final wouldn't necessarily be seen as a total failure. Martin, we've had a few questions about this, Stewie, our friend.
Sorry, before we move on, I think it's just worth noting that sort of with Paul Cook, it's tended to happen in season 2 for him. I think if you look at Chesterfield, Portsmouth, I think the Wigan title might have been in the first season there. I'll have to double check on that one. But managers will always talk about needing several windows, and it can take time to sort of bed in their ideals and philosophies. So it will be interesting to see how much patience come from these new. I think the owners, as much as they've got big ambitions and they want things to happen yesterday, let alone tomorrow, there does seem to be an understanding from them that it could take a little bit of time, and patience is a horrible word that nobody wants to use or hear, and we've heard it for too long at Ipswich. But if it, as Ross says, there's ways that Ipswich could just miss out this season, but if there's a feeling that it's been a giant step in the right direction and things could come to a head next season, then that would be easier to stomach, wouldn't it?
We've had a few questions about this, Stewie, so we may as well take the first one head on. Our old friend Martin says, how long until the chief football writer has his blue tick? Now, clearly, we know that Hutchie's got a blue tick. Someone else in this particular virtual room also has a blue tick now.
Here we go.
Might be me, boys. And unlike Hutchie, I'm not going to pretend that I didn't apply for it. I did apply for it. I'm the sort of person who likes stuff like that. So I applied for it, got it, because I'm important. Hutchie's still pretending that he didn't. I wonder how long he'll keep that up. And Stu, you're still insisting that you neither need nor want that blue tick.
No, I don't want it. I'm a man of the people. I'm the people's journalist. I stand with them. I don't need a fancy blue tick. So even if they offered it to me, I'll reject it. I've said that before, and I'll maintain it.
Rossi, you've got to get your blue tick now, and then we can.
No, I don't think I need it.
Come on.
Get the Kings of Anglia podcast, verified first. Get out the blue tick, and then
Anyway, I do have a blue tick, and unlike Hutchie, it will change me. So, boys, that's just a warning. Bunch of other questions. George Marriott asks, he's got greedy here, George. You've asked about 17 questions in this. He says, do we think we're definitely going to see 4-2-3-1 as the main formation? We'll do our 3 strikers indicate a 2-striker system could be on the cards. Also, KVY fitness situation. Do we think Burns has the nod ahead of Donatian at the position for the start of the season? Stewie, that's a lot of questions there. Do you want to pick one to answer? So he's asked about formation, 4-2-3-1. Is that definitely what we're going to see? Do we have any update on KVY and is Burns going to play ahead of Donatian?
I think Cook's been pretty clear that he's completely wedded to 4-2-3-1. I think it went against every bone in his body to change the system when he came in. I think that was just him out of desperation searching for a formula that could get some points on the board and keep the playoff dream alive last season. It didn't happen, and he made it pretty clear towards the end of last season. No longer will I be picking systems based on what suits personnel. So it would be a huge U-turn for him to go back on that. But he has said now, having signed Piggott and Bonn to compete with Norwood, that he can't rule out having 2 strikers on the pitch. Now, the wording of that I thought was important because it wasn't 2 up front, it was 2 strikers on the pitch. So we've seen in the Dartford friendly that Bonn was kind of just dropping off a little bit from Norwood. He has played wide at times in his career, but I don't know if I'd necessarily be a fan of him being sort of shoehorned into the side in a wide position. I think when Cook talks about having 2 on the pitch, I think he talks about sort of maybe in-game scenarios where teams have parked the bus at Portman Road and you've got to find other ways to break them down. So I'd be very surprised, in short, if we see Ipswich playing with an out-and-out 2 up front from the start that often this season.
We will see. Mullet, our friend up north, wants to know, will there be a regular pod with Mark Ashton to assess the season and deliver the club's message directly to a wider range of fans? Or was that a one-off? Got a lot of very, very positive feedback on this, Stewie. It's one of the most listened things that we've ever done. You and Hutchie did an excellent sit-down interview with Mark Ashton. If you've not listened to that, do go back and listen to it because it's 38 minutes that you will enjoy. I mean, we're pretty much always asking for interviews, aren't we, Stewie? So when we are granted them, we will try and bring as many as possible. I mean, it would be nice to speak to Mark at regular intervals.
I'm sure we can, but we certainly don't have a monopoly on Mark doing interviews, and I'm sure he will be keen to speak to other outlets, and he will want to do stuff directly with the fans. That's clear. He's talked about having regular fans forums in the diary that sort of win, lose or draw, whatever's happening in the season, that both he and other members of staff will be accessible directly to fans. So that is something for supporters to look forward to. He has promised that will be the case, that engagement from the very top all the way down is going to remain the case. Obviously, it's one thing communicating with everybody at this moment in time while it's a bit of a honeymoon period and we're out of the heat of battle of the season. But maintaining that through the season will be very important. And Mark's talked about being sort of consistent with his behaviours, and he promises that keeping that open line of communication will remain the case regardless of what's happening on the pitch. So, and hopefully we can do a few more ourselves as well.
Just skipping forward, Andrew B, friend of the show, Matt Thomas, Simon Weiss, Steve Wallers. Thanks for your questions. Not going to get to them today. Ian Ling wants to know, which player who we let go will we regret the most? Which is a good question. I'm going to start, boys, by going for maybe someone a little bit under the radar. I reckon Town releasing Tristan Nydam might come back to bite them further down the line, because I think Tristan, you shaking your head, Stewie?
You've just missed the golden opportunity to go with Aaron Drinan.
Of course.
It's just dead to you immediately.
What am I doing, boys? What am I doing? I've answered it seriously. I think Tristan Nydam. Obviously, Drinan is going to score 35 goals for Leyton Orient as well. What are you saying, boys?
I think the player that will go the furthest is Flynn Downs, but saying that is one thing. Regretting it is another. As we said in previous podcasts, it just feels like the stars are not aligned anymore for both club and player there. So, but I think he's the one that perhaps in a few years' time you think, if only we'd have kept hold of Flynn that little bit longer, could he have done what he's doing elsewhere with us? But he'll be the one I'll be saddest to see go, I would say.
Rossi?
I've moved on.
They're all dead to you now.
Yeah.
Not even Guion. The loyalty of you two, I'm staggered. You've just moved on so quickly. Your affections are so fickle.
It's all about Rakeem the Dream for me now, and obviously the Crane train. I know Rossi's got his boy Macaulay Bonn as well. So times change, don't they, boys? Need to move on. Someone's kicking off.
In the background, where it's summer holidays now, so get used to that.
And with your new mic, we'll pick it all up, Stewie. James Golk wants to know, with the new away shirt being somewhat of an anticlimax, I think we'd all agree, pick your favourite non-ITFC shirt that would have made a better away shirt for the coming season. Be creative. Roscoe, you weren't here last week when we talked about the new away shirt. I was thoroughly underwhelmed. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous that I have notifications on for Ipswich Town. So I think it came out I was just finished swimming. I looked and I went, "Oh, the away kit's out." Oh, and I was like, "Really? Is that it?"
Yeah, that's my reaction exactly. Very dull, very dull.
You know, people say, "Oh, it's classy, it's clean, it's simple," but
What are you saying?
Yeah.
How about James' question? Is there any other kits that you would like to see Town?
I don't know. I'm not very good knowledgeable with kits. That's probably better to ask Bono from the Fan Social and Segs from the Fan Social, because they're the ones who knows all about kits. I don't really have that much knowledge. I only really know them when I see them on TV or in person. I don't go and do my search and stuff. So, yeah.
Have you seen, gentlemen, the Atletico Mineiro kit?
No.
It's a team in Brazil that they let the fans sort of vote on the kit or have their say in the design of the kit. It's I'm assuming this is the away kit. It's white, but it's got in the background the map of the state in which they're based, and it's a thing of beauty. Look it up. It's had quite the reaction on Twitter. I think it's Le Coq Sportif that have made the kit. It's got like a faded old map sort of thing in the background, and I'm just picturing. Imagine like a county of Suffolk map in the background with a few names of little villages and things like that. I think that could have been a beauty.
That is very nice. Yeah, I mean, I've also on the kit point, I've also made it clear on many occasions I'd love Town to have a pink away kit, which obviously never happened. I really like this next question from Amber Redmond. She wants to know, what would the show be like if your wives, or in Roscoe's case, girlfriend, took over for an episode? Well, I think I've got the only wife who's actually interested in football, boys. So I guess she'd have to take over as host. I'm not sure what the rest of the chat would be about, to be honest. Rossi, Stewie?
I'd be very sweary if my wife was involved, and be very short on football content as well. I would probably come up with some sort of game where I would ask how far away is, and then insert the name of the football club, and she can sort of work out sort of what time are you going to be home by, would be the sort of the name of the quiz. Where are you today? Blackpool. Is that far? Yes. Yeah, there wouldn't be a lot of football chat. That's for sure.
What about Sasha, Rossi?
Yeah, she doesn't like. She watched the Euros just for so I can have to watch it with somebody. But no, she has no interest in football at all. So yeah, it will just be talking about where you going this week, and stuff like that. It will just I don't know. It could be more interesting than what we got to say, but
probably would be. Let's be honest, boys. My wife would try and turn this into a Leicester City show. That's her side. So and also more success to report on. So as you say, maybe more interesting. Moving on, there's a few more questions we'll skip over. Tony Southgate wants to ask about Twitter. He's trying to drive a wedge between us, boys. That's what he's trying to do, Big Tony. Andrew asked about thoughts on Mark Ashton. We've talked about that before. Very impressive individual. We'll see how that goes during the season. David Hunt, Stewie, wants to know, what should our walkout music be and goal music be for the season?
See, I'm reluctant to get into this because you start to sound like, I can't remember the guy's name, but the Sunderland Till I Die documentary. Have you seen where they're having the little brainstorming session? He's like, we need some Ibiza club vibes, and just start to sound very every year of my 36 years of age. If I start talking about what music will get people pumped up, even just using phrases like that, I'm aware makes me just sound a bit old and decrepit. Ross, you know stuff about music.
What was the question? I wasn't here.
Yeah,
new entrance music for Ipswich.
And goal music.
Goal music can go in the bin.
Yeah, not goal music, no. It needs to be just no Ed Sheeran. I'm sorry, I'm not having it. No Ed Sheeran songs. I know he says I know he's sponsor and all that. I know he's a fan, but not for me. Just some pump up music. You just gets you ready to. And we've got American owners, so it needs to be proper show music. But I don't know one example. There's a few American football teams who've got some good ones, but I haven't got the name of the song. But there's some good pump up music. Get ready for a game of football, and Yeah.
The best walkout music in American sport for me is the Chicago Bulls theme, which is an absolute banger. I'm not sure it'd work the same maybe at Ipswich Town, but hey, I don't know what Phoenix Rising have as their walkout tune, but we'll see. Right, boys, where are we on this list of questions? Big John Watson, leader of the Northern Battalion KOA Army, wants to know who's got the better beard, Roscoe or Mark Ashton? And I'm going to say, I'm afraid, Rossi, Mark Ashton's beard is far superior to yours. Do you agree? Ashton's beard is a thing of wonder.
Yeah, I mean Ross's is longer, but I would say Mark's is clearly a bit more groomed. Ross is a bit more of a wild man, sort of. Sometimes like what's the DiCaprio where he's out in the wilderness fighting bears? What's that film?
Revenant.
Yeah,
yeah. It's a bit like that at times, Ross. It's a close one, but I'd have to go with Team Ashton, I'm afraid. Sorry, Ross.
No, you don't need to apologise. To be fair, I agree with that. It looks good when I had a haircut and when I get the first trim. It looks good for the first day or two, but then I give up and trying to groom it because I'm just lazy. I just can't be asked.
We know you've already said on here that you don't groom yourself, which is obviously very much of a difference with Mark Ashton, who clearly does to a great degree. Still, though, Ross, take that because I'm sure that's going to be the only time in your life you're compared to Leonardo DiCaprio. So there's a minor win for you there. We have more questions here from Brad, friend of the show, Nigel G, NHS hero. Just asked, what's your latest food craving, Ross? Did you discover a new food while you were on holiday last week?
No, I didn't discover new food. I do like burritos, so I had one of those. I went to a Mexican restaurant. But one thing I'm eating a lot is tropical fruit at the moment. So papaya, fruit, and pineapples all together, mixed up. Papaya, there's two. There's the yellow and there's also orange.
Yeah.
So papaya fruit, love it.
Why particularly now? Is it the weather or?
Possibly. I've just never had it before. So, and it's so addictive, you know. So I think it's not a bad addiction to have is papaya fruit.
Yeah. Have you tried mango?
I don't like mango.
Don't like mango?
No,
How can you not like? What? What's not to like about mango?
I don't know. It's just the texture of it, and it's just for me, it just hasn't got much flavour really.
What?
I don't know. Maybe the mango I had wasn't good, so I'll have to maybe give it a try again.
You had a bad mango. David F wants to know. He's got a picture of some. It looks like a cross between Billy Connolly and Alexi Lalas. I assume this is the player he references, Mr. Kill Klein. Not one I'm familiar with. He's no longer playing. And Sonny Bradley's got an inexplicable love for Bedfordshire. What big hairy ass, trademark Stuart Watson, should we be looking for? That's a truly sexy signing of the summer. Stewie, you of course predicted Joe Piggott's signing in your players that Town should be looking at. Have you got a central defender that you've got your eye on that you think Town should be in for? With a hairy ass?
He's referring to Brian Kilcline, isn't he? He was the Coventry hard man of the 80s with the long hair and tash. Hairy-ass centre-back. I have no one springing to mind. I haven't got just sort of a list of hairy-assed players.
I thought you'd just have it off the top of your head,
front and centre of my mind. Let me stick it in the data dashboard, and then when we reconvene for the next one, I'll see what sort of gets pumped out from the results.
Go and analyse your hairy ass list. What we need is a brute with a very hirsute ass. We've already decided that. As a boom, I don't know how many times he won the strike, Roscoe. He's not the current reigning champion, is he? But he wants to know, if we had a time machine, what moment in time would you travel back to? Rossi.
But the problem with that, though, is what if you by accidentally kill an ant and then the whole history changes? So
the butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect, yeah. Like, everyone would want to go and kill Hitler and all that, but won't go into that. I don't know. Like, the Peaky Blinders days, the 20th, 1920s and stuff.
So you can go anywhere in history, and you want to go back like 100 years.
Okay, maybe not. Vikings times. Vikings.
Oh yes, yeah. 793 Lindisfarne when the Vikings first landed on these shores. That would be.
I want to be the Vikings. I don't want to be the priests and all that.
You definitely want to be the Vikings. You don't want to be the inhabitants of Lindisfarne. I I'm going to say, boys, I mean, I should also stress there that if anyone's going back in time and is going to change the course of history by clumsily doing something, it's almost certain to be you, Roscoe.
Yeah.
That's got like a road trippy sort of fun film vibe about it. Sort of Ross going haplessly back in time and just creating sort of carnage.
Yeah.
We flip backwards and forwards in time to see the sort of the real life effects as Ross kind of just breaks things and the knock on effects. It's kind of, I'm thinking like, dude, where's my car type vibe to this film. I'd pay to see that.
Yeah.
I'll lose like precious stuff as well. Like I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna borrow this and then never give it back, and then like, oh, where's that gone?
Yeah. I think time-wise, the obvious thing would be to go back and see dinosaurs, but that would probably be fraught with peril. I'd love to see the Colosseum in Rome in action, because that would have been incredible back in the day. They could actually flood that thing and have sea battles there, which I find mental. Stewie, have you got any particular time period you'd like to go to?
Dinosaurs would be the obvious one, wouldn't it? I did bloody love dinosaurs when I was a kid, so I'll have to go with that.
Is there a particular dinosaur you'd most want to see, Stewie? What was your favourite? Was it the old T-Rex, the classic?
I would say I was more of a Stegosaurus man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a bit left field. What did you like about the Stegosaurus? The heavily armoured?
Heavily armoured, the tail with the spikes on.
Was that Stegosaurus? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. What was the other one? The Ankylosaurus, wasn't it? That had the ball for a tail as well with spike. Anyway, I'm digressing, boys. This is an Ipswich Town podcast if you just tuned in. King Louis wants to know, given we're in a heat wave, which ice cream best represents each of the new signings? Lee Evans is a classic vanilla, isn't he? But he's the Madagascan vanilla pod vanilla. I mean, real good vanilla. Can we agree, boys? First of all, what's the best ice cream flavour? If you say anything other than rum and raisin, you're a cretin.
I do like rum and raisin.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd necessarily put it top of the list. It's definitely a go-to.
I'm a salt of caramel man. Salt of caramel.
Luxury. Yeah. Nice. I'm not sure I can come up with 8 ice cream flavours.
I would see. I was on the vanilla tip. I was thinking vanilla's the safe option. A Mr. Whippy with a flake, that's just your safe go-to option, isn't it? And I think if you're looking for safe, I'm thinking safe hands.
Okay.
You want safe hands goalkeeper. You want the safe option. So Václav Hladký has got to be a Mr. Whippy for me. Safe, but in a good way. That's about as far as I've got with my thought process. I'll be completely honest with you. I had another one. Wes Burns has got to be a rocket.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
He's fast.
Yeah, like it. Mr. Whippy ice cream, by the way, massively underrated. Fantastic ice cream. Just because you can get it everywhere doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Delicious. Invented by Margaret Thatcher, of course. We'll move on, boys, because I can't think of 8 ice cream flavours, I don't think.
I started to go down a real sort of contrived route here that was something that was good back in the day, has faded and sort of is now coming back again, which some of these players have obviously done, dropped down the levels and come back. Viennetta, that was quite big back in the day. I don't know if Viennetta's making a comeback and can be strong again, but
Viennetta used to be like a special thing in my household. If we had a Viennetta, we were really living. That was like a special thing. So maybe dating myself there with that. Let's try and find an Ipswich Town question or two to finish on. Where are we? Richard Jackson wants to know, how much of Portman Road do you expect to be tidied up before the start of the season? He says, hopefully the plants in the roof stay because they add some colour. We know Ashton has made Portman Road looking better. He said on day one, he wants when fans to come back, he wants them to see changes at Portman Road, Stu. Clearly that has started with the things we talked about, the new mural going up and various other little bits and bobs. There's not a lot major they can do, is there, given the time frame? I guess it would just be given like a spick and span and a bit of a facelift and made to look like someone actually cares about it for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at the quotes from the Mark Ashton interview where he talked about small things happening like car park lines painted, windows cleaned, bird mess removed, etc. But he does go on to stress, I'd love to be able to say to the fans that when they walk out for the first game, it's all going to be perfect, but it's not. So I think most people understand that there's only so much you can do in this first summer. I think that the main thing is that those visuals that we've talked about along the Cobbold stand just makes a massive difference. And then the bigger things like potentially a big screen, which I know that there was discussions about happening for a long time, but even before this takeover happened, Marcus Evans was looking into that and replacing big sections of seats and those sort of bigger issues. And the pitch itself needs a deep renovation, which obviously has to happen sort of between seasons. So that won't happen, you would imagine, till next summer. Stuff like that will obviously happen sort of further down the line, you imagine. Yeah,
the other thing that Ashton and clearly the American owners are going to be really big on is general match day experience, which clearly, again, is a big thing in American sports. The match day experience tends to be so much better than in English sports. Even on day one, Ashton was talking about little things like making sure the beer is cold and the food is warm and it's good food. Little things like that, which hopefully will be looked at. One more question then we'll take from FPL Tractor Stu. This is one for you, really. If clubs submit a transfer bid for a player, is there a special form they have to fill in? Can they just agree it in negotiations over the phone/video call first? Or is that to do with alerting the player? Is there a kind of format for these things, Stewie, that you're aware of?
I guess there becomes a formal process towards the end. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn in saying that a lot of this stuff is all done on the quiet before it gets to the formal stage. Clubs don't just suddenly drop a transfer bid out of nowhere and then just wait for an email to reply. This is all done sort of, if you're going to be investing a lot of money into a player or a transfer, you make sure that certain ducks are in a row first before it gets to the formal stage. Everybody does it. But yeah, I'd love to see, I mean, people still talk about faxes being used, don't they, in football? Faxes.
Who owns a fax machine? Do they still exist?
They were still talking about like deadline day, waiting for the fax to come through from like the football league to rubber stamp a deal.
Yeah. There's this new thing called email, boys. Check it out. Look at it. Use it. Faxes are kind of obsolete now, but yeah, interesting. Roscoe, that brings us to the end of Mailbag. You've got to go out. How are we doing for time? Because you've got a strike up your sleeve as well, haven't you?
Yeah, well, fine. I just got to run through all this strike. So let's get right into it.
Let's deep dive into the strike. First time for a while. Intro, please.
Oh, we missed that intro. I hope you've missed it as well. Let's get into it then, boys. It's Mark Heath, Stuart Watson. Let's see who wins the strike this week. So, 8 questions for you, and it's based around the 8 signings so far. So, question 1 is on Wesley Burns. Now, I'm going to bring the question up for you. So if you can't, understand my Suffolk accent, if you're watching on video, you'll see the question.
Oh, look at this.
Wes Burns had multiple loan spells during his time at Bristol City, with one of them in Scotland, but for which team? Just let me get the option up quickly. Was it Motherwell, Aberdeen, or St Johnstone?
I've got absolutely no idea. So I'm going to say Aberdeen.
Okay.
I don't actually know this. I think Andy wrote the profile piece on Wes Burns. I probably would have said Aberdeen, but I'll go different just to keep it interesting. I'll say St Johnstone.
Should have gone Aberdeen. It's Aberdeen.
Yeah, come on.
So 1-0 to Heafy. I'm going to bring up the score there, though. Heafy 1, Stu 0.
Oh, look at these developments, Roscoe. Almost professional now.
Somewhat. Until I get something wrong. Question 2 is on the dream, Raheem Harper. We found out his middle name is Jordan, so that won't be the question. But yeah, he scored his first professional goal for West Brom in 2019. But who was it against? Now, 3 of these sides Town will be playing this season in League One. It's Rotherham, Bolton, or Wigan. Who was it against? It was a 2-1 win.
Stewie, do you want to go first? We'll take it in turns to go first.
Sorry, Rotherham, who? Bolton?
and Wigan.
I think it's Rotherham.
I'm going to say Wigan, just to be different.
It's Rotherham.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
1-1.
Question 3 is on my boy, Macaulay Bonne. Which month is Macaulay Bonne's birthday? Now,
we've got a visitor.
It's the arm.
Oh, what's this?
There we go. Look. She's trying to hide.
This is unbelievable. For those not watching
No conferring.
For those not watching on video, Stu's, I assume that was your missus, Stu, just walked in and brought you lunch. Is that what you got there?
I've got a little sausage roll here. Which is a little sausage roll and some juice.
Someone's doing all right, aren't they? Is that just a snack or is that lunch?
That'll be lunch, yeah.
Lunch, nice. We digress. What month is Macaulay Bonne's birthday? Were there options or are we just guessing?
I'm just going to guess.
I'm going to say Macaulay Bonne was born in March.
May.
You're both wrong. It's October.
Oh well.
1-1.
Oh, it's tense.
Now, question 4 is on Vaclav Halanki.
Where are you putting the N?
Halanki.
Hladky. There's no N.
Hladky.
Hladky.
Hladky. No, I don't know. How many clean sheets did he keep in 199 games? So this is for all of these clubs he's played for.
His whole
Once
career.
again, whole career.
I reckon he kept 46 clean sheets.
Okay.
I'm going to go higher than that. I'll say 69, baby.
It's 64.
Oh.
Right, Stu gets the point. It's now 2-1 Stu.
Still time.
Fine. Still time. Now, how much do you know about Lee Evans?
Loads.
Question 5 is on how many caps has Lee Evans won for Wales? Senior level.
Well, Stu, I think I know this. So, do you want to go first?
I'll do you now.
Yeah.
11.
I think it's 4.
It is 4.
Yeah,
Bang
on.
4. There we go.
Very
2-2. It's Desmond time.
Very different approaches in our celebrations here, Stu.
Question 6 is all about Matt Penny and his middle name. What is Matt Penny's middle name?
Bad.
I won't. Which 3 options? Is it Lee, Luke, or Liam? Liam from Crew, of course.
Of course.
I think it's my turn to go first, isn't it? I'll go Luke.
He sounds like a Luke. Just looks like a Luke, but I can't go the same, can I?
You can if you want.
No, I'll go Lee.
And you should have done the same. It's Luke.
I knew it.
Yeah. So 3-2 to Heafy. Going into question 7 with Joe Piggott. He began his career at which London club? Was it Millwall, Leyton Orient, or Charlton?
Began his career. Well, it's your turn to go first, isn't it, Stu? I think.
I do know it though, so.
Okay. I'm tempted to say Charlton, but I can't. I don't know if he began his career there. I'm going to say Leyton Orient.
That's Charlton.
It is Charlton.
Bollocks.
3-3. Final question.
Here
we go then.
Here we go. For all the bananas.
This can be the tiebreaker then, and it is on good old Scotty Fraser. Once again, he began his career in Scotland because he's Scottish, but for which club? Was it Dundee United, Hearts, or Kilmarnock?
Oh, Stu knows this because he's written a profile of him.
Oh.
Dundee United, Kilmarnock, or Hearts? I suppose I've got to go first, haven't I? Because you know the answer, Stewie. There's tension here. I really don't want to lose this. I feel like I've come too far.
You can't lose it from that winning position. Led the whole way through. Don't bottle it.
I'm going to say Kilmarnock.
Oh, he's bottled it. He's bottled it. It's Dundee United.
It is Dundee. And Stu wins.
Oh,
So there we
dear.
go. Well
Oh.
done, Stu. There we go.
And he celebrates with a sip of juice like a badass Don. There we go.
There we go.
Look at
Well,
this. We've got graphics and everything. Tremendous.
You got graphics. You know, the budget for us. No, I've got no effects or anything. You just got a bit of a bar there. But as Stu takes a bite of his sausage roll, over to you, Barry. Barry Cotter. There we go.
The taste of victory. Stuart Watson munching a sausage roll. Boys, that brings us to the end of today's show. It's been a slightly different one today with the mailbag and the strike returning and maybe a bit light on the old news. But I'm sure normal service will be resumed when Town start making signings again. Anything else to mention, boys, before we take our leave? Stu, are you enjoying that sausage roll?
Not any sausage roll, a Greg's sausage roll, my friend.
Oh.
Winning. No other business.
Who do you think you are? P. Diddy? Roscoe, what have you got anything to mention? Oh, Tractor Girls Talk, mention that.
Yes, fixtures are out for those teams. I found out who I'll be travelling to on a Sunday after the men's game. Luckily, the Plymouth game is a double header, so I'll have a nice weekend in Devon, watching the men on the Saturday, and then the women on a Sunday. Page Peak, second pro deal for the women's setup, which is once again a massive news. And there we go.
Yep, go back and listen to that. It's a good news show on the KOA channel. Obviously, follow us across all the social medias. Kings of Anglia on YouTube, please, because we're pushing YouTube. We're doing lots of video content on there, exclusive stuff. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And also remember to support KOA sponsors, manscaped.com. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free delivery. And there's some new clobber coming out, so make sure you're first to get that with the KOA code. In terms of the rest of the week, boys, time off, etc., we may or may not be back this week. We may be back on Friday, potentially, if Town do make a signing. But if not, we'll be back next week after that first friendly at Ipswich Town. Crystal Palace will be great to have fans back in the ground. Do enjoy that if you are going. Have a great rest of week, a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again next time.